Yeah, I mean, first of all, we should start doing more press conferences with football right behind us and men's basketball because this is awesome. No, in all seriousness, we are just really, really excited to be playing. I said to our team before the selection show and after the selection show, like any team that's playing in March should be honored to be playing in March, because there's a lot of teams that are no longer playing. After this weekend, there will be even more teams that aren't playing, so we are really excited. This year's ball club has been through a lot, even before the season started, with 10 new players and only having a couple returners that had played significant minutes. We felt like this team had a ton of potential, but that it was going to take some time, to get to where we could be. And, we didn't factor in all the injuries and stuff that we were going to have. So in spite of all of that, just unbelievably proud of our team for their resilience, cohesiveness, just everything that we've accomplished this year. So we're excited to get the WBIT going. Thrilled that we get to host. I mean, not too many teams get to play at home during March, and we've been really good at home. So we are fired up for Thursday night.
Hi, Coach. Nikki Edwards, CU Sports Report.
Yeah.
Just your takeaways from your first year in the Big 12 and what this conference gave you and how it made your team better.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 is one of the more well-rounded conferences in the country. We ended up with one of only two conferences, in the final top 25 last week with 5 top 25 teams. So obviously very strong conference. Lots of different styles of play, lots of different venues, to go all the way to West Virginia, to Kansas, to, Utah and such. Lots of different challenges, and styles of play. So we feel prepared for really anyone that we could face over the next several weeks. Hopefully, you win and you keep playing, and we'll get to see some new teams.
Right. So obviously this replaces the WNIT, which has been the secondary tournament for a long time. But looking at those two tournaments,
Yeah.
for the last 10 years, the last 10 champions have made the tournament the next year.
Yeah.
The NCAA tournament. So do
Yeah.
you feel like this is something you guys take with the approach, like this is a springboard for next year, and this can really, if you make a run here,
Sure.
set up next year?
Yeah, I mean, we, like I said, we've had a lot of success in recent years in the NCAA tournament. That's the expectation, is to be there every year and to make a deep run. Going back-to-back Sweet 16s was pretty big for this program, and so that's our expectation every year. We will use any opportunity in front of us to springboard us to more success, whether that's the WBIT or a great off-season in the summer or some really strong additions, out of the portal this spring or what have you. We'll use it as a springboard to future success, no doubt.
Jack. Hey, JR. Jack Harlow with SI. Good to see you. I believe 5th straight postseason appearance for this program. Just how big is that for your team and just the program in general?
Yeah, I think Brian actually mentioned it to me last week, just saying, it's really awesome how far we've come. To think that, playing in the postseason is just truly an expectation, and we expect, as I said, to play deep into March, and so we're just going to keep pushing that and continue to win as long as we can.
Pat, on the side.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Hi, Graham, Assistant Press. Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Got a
you
few
too.
Question here. Every job has things you love about it. Every job has things you don't like about it.
Yeah.
How has your happiness changed with what you do in light of the transfer portal and NIL and all the things that on the periphery?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that the transfer portal and all of the seismic changes that have happened in recent years have changed some of the dynamics, but I think it's really important to our staff that we stay true to who we are, why we do it, and how we go about it. So, since 25 years ago when I started coaching, it was not about even really the X's and O's. It was about recruiting great young women that we can challenge and mold and support as they go through some of the most formative years of their lives in college, and that has not changed. We're still trying to recruit young players that want to come, want to be developed, want to be coached hard, want to reach their potential, and none of that has changed. Obviously, the landscape of being able to recruit older players out of the portal and things like that has changed, but our reason for being has not.
Hey, JR, quick question for you. So, clearly women's sports, just by and large, don't have the resources that men's sports have.
Sure.
Have you noticed a widening of the gap between the haves and the have-nots at the women's sports level, maybe even to a more significant degree than on the men's side?
Yeah, I really can't speak to the men's side because I honestly only know what I read on Twitter or, in the news or what have you. I definitely, it's difficult to answer that question because there's so much false information out there. I only know what we have to work with and what our resources are. I have a couple close friends in the industry that I sort of know what they have to work with. But there's so much misinformation out there, especially as it's related to NIL and portal signings and things like that, that I honestly can't really speak to it. Yeah, sorry, I wish I could, but if what we're all hearing is true, then yes, but I don't think it's all true, so.
Pat. Hey, JR Payne, Boulder, Yellow Camera. Just wondering, you mentioned in your opening a lot of new players this year,
Yeah.
a lot of injuries you've dealt with, and
Yeah.
most of them were kind of the nagging sort of. This player is out a couple games, and then maybe this
Yeah.
player out. And for yourself, just from a coaching aspect, what maybe unique challenges did you face this year as far as
Yeah.
managing personnel, maybe rotations week to week, that sort of thing?
Yeah, the most difficult thing, well, for one, Frida Foreman, our best player, our most experienced player, all-time leading three-point shooter in the history of Colorado basketball, men or women, having her out for half the season, the first 4 games of the season, and then the last however many games it's been a month and a half or so. That was really difficult just because she was the most experienced player in the program. So that was tough in and of itself. With 10 new players. The other thing that's been really tough is the positions. We went without 2 point guards, for several games. That is really difficult trying to figure out, all right, it's like losing your quarterback, right? Okay, other people can throw the ball, but it's a different thing to be a true point guard. And so that's been tough. Having players trying to play in the games, but not really well enough to practice is also really difficult because so much of what you're doing during the week is preparation for your performance Friday night. So lots of different things, but the great thing about our team is everyone's been very willing. We have a bunch of players that want to work, they want to play. All of a sudden we're asking Johanna Tadare, who hasn't played point guard since high school 6 years ago, to all of a sudden play point guard in a Big 12 matchup against a team that wants to full court press for 40 minutes. I mean, that's a tall task, but having kids like that are willing and able to say, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to do it, but I'll give it my best, has been very fortunate for us.
Coach Leo Vera with Scova Sports. What does it say about the character of this group and the leadership that even with so many shorthandedness and injuries that they still come forward pushing, and now you're pushing towards another tournament in March?
Yeah, I think it speaks very highly of both, the leadership and the character, and honestly just sort of the overall toughness of the group. Johanna Tadare, as I mentioned, is a perfect example of someone, who just says, I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'll do it to the best of my ability, and win, lose, or draw, we're gonna fight for it. And so we have a lot of players that have done that throughout the year. And honestly, that's always been the makeup of our teams, been very tough, physical, never wilt, totally fearless. And so with 10 new players, it's actually pretty cool to see that, we may not be as tough as we've been or as, whatever, but we definitely have that in our program.
JR, Tyler Payne with the Denver Gazette. You guys obviously had a nice run at the Big 12 tournament. Got some really good production from young players. Just how nice has it been to see players like Grace, Tabitha, Kennedy really step up and develop as the season has gone on, and how valuable will this season experience be for them who haven't really experienced that yet?
Yeah, it is absolutely invaluable to be playing in the postseason. I was having a meeting with Tabitha the other day, and we were just talking about the experience that we'll get over the next week or 2 or 3, however long we can play, is something that we will use in the future, and so it's totally invaluable just going through the new scouts, the new prep, the quick turnaround, the truly do or die, nature of March Madness. And so that's been great. To have the young players step up the way they did in the Big 12 tournament was incredible. Kennedy Sanders was absolutely awesome. Having to go against sort of single-handedly in some ways against some full court pressure and to play so well. Tabitha was really good. Grace, as you mentioned. So lots of young players, are getting key plays in key moments in key games, which, to be honest, isn't really happening at that many places around the country due to the portal and things like that.
We'll close with Brian.
So going off of the freshman question,
Yeah.
the previous 3-4 years or whatever, you guys haven't really had to play a lot of freshmen.
Yeah.
Because you've been so
Senior laden.
dominant.
Yeah.
But with that, you haven't been able to really evaluate a lot of those young players,
Yeah.
and they wind up leaving.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, has it been difficult to kind of build a program because they haven't played, so they leave?
Yeah.
And now here you are. I mean, there's not a lot to show from the previous few
Right.
recruiting classes, but
Yeah.
this year's been different that way.
Yeah, that's a great point, something that we've thought about a lot, over these months, despite the injuries. I'm the one that's always going to find the blessing in the storm, and find the silver lining. So despite the injuries, that has been the blessing in the storm, as these young kids are playing. As I said, they're making pivotal plays in pivotal games. And so that's been really great. And I think, bodes well for our future. Hopefully we can keep everybody, to sort of be a foundational piece moving forward.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Again, we play